And you know what? Is that not proof it's just scripted? Oh, here we are. We're back in. All right, guys. In the bottom left-hand side, we're going to try this again. Our blue Terran player from the Shopify Rebellion. This is ByuN.
Alrighty. So, Terran versus Terran between these two. Obviously, it's happened many times before. And in general, I really do feel like it can go both ways, right? It can either be a super cheesy series, because, well, both of these players are well known to put their barracks on the other side of the map, or it can be one of those longer, slower games. What would you prefer seeing?
In TVT? I genuinely want to see, I do want to see ByuN just play like his bio-heavy style, where he doesn't go many tanks, he just tries to overrun. I really don't think it works against Maru, but I'd rather see that than watching tanks versus tanks,
want to
right?
see him stemming his Marines into siege tank lines?
But that's the thing, it doesn't look like it's going to work. Then he wins, and I'm just like, that's
just
spectacular.
micro. Just split.
Yeah. But then it works. It's like, it should work. And then he plays against someone better. I'm like, well, this time it can't work. Then it works again. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Against Maru, I do think it's very difficult, though, because he is so good at just making sure those fights can't happen. And he's going to make sure he doesn't get overrun. He's not going to get pulled apart, right? He's very good at keeping on top of the Doom drops as well, which is one of the main things ByuN has in that situation. So, yeah, I would love to see ByuN play that style, because I feel like it's very fun and innovative. But I do feel like it might be a weakness against Maru.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. So we don't have anything crazy happening here in the earlier stages of the game. Both players opening up a very normal, quick double gas, so they're going to be able to transition towards those higher tech units here in just a moment. And obviously, they're very important to make sure that you don't just lose. Command center's coming up on the low ground right now, and you can follow along pretty easily as well with the production tab, as, well, most things will be near identical.
Yeah, it's not going to be too different for a while. We do see no Reaper out of Maru right now, though. So he's going to get that slightly faster starport because he's cut the Reaper. And now he's just going to go straight into the reactor. So, well, ByuN just gets that one additional Reaper on the way. Yeah, that will be the difference. It's not like mega greedy by Maru or anything, right? It's just a choice. You know, 3 Reapers versus 2 just means that ByuN can be aggressive, Maru cannot be. It will start to diverge now, of course, than the overall builds. You see ByuN, second barracks. Okay, that's already a sign that he's not going to play this normally, because in TVT you almost always play 1-1-1 into a third CC because you can just defend it so easily. A second Rax adds a lot of bio pressure early. It's going to bypass any sort of Raven play. It can give you some timings, but you have to catch your opponent a bit off guard.
And Ravens are, of course, incredibly important in this matchup as well. It is going to be something that Maru should have access for in just a moment, although, here we go. ByuN decides to just roll up that ramp right away, snipes the very first. Oh my god, and he actually snipes the SCV that is building the command center as well, seconds before finishing.
Yeah, it's a cool position for a few moments, but this siege tank is about to be done. Once this tank is done, we're going to be pretty much done with this aggression. Obviously, Maru lures the depot to come back out the other side. 2 workers killed, 3. He could get rid of another one, just gets the CC finish. Probably wouldn't have been delayed much further. This was really, really good for ByuN. I mean, 4 SCVs, and he lost what? You know, pretty much equal Reaper count. And of course, Reapers don't matter that much right now anyways, right? The later the game goes, the less useful that is. Love it for ByuN, but this counter drop of Maru could be big if ByuN doesn't catch it.
Yeah, and there is a Cyclone driving through the center of the map right now. I think that ByuN knows indeed that he does get the lock-on right there in the tall grass. He's forced to disengage here because, well, there's still a siege tank in that plane.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still nice, though. Get a little bit of damage, you know, catch where it is. We are going to get the unload in the main base, but ByuN has a few units ready. If the tank can get sieged, but I don't think Maru wants to commit it that much, right? He's just going to sit on the edge, get rid of a supply depot, take what he can without going overboard, and, yeah, just scare this away.
Good situation right now here for ByuN, who is going to go into that much faster Stimpec, whereas Maru indeed is going to go for the more conservative play as he follows it up right now with a Raven. You think he's going to get anything done with that second barracks?
Yes. Because my entire instincts say no. so I'm just going to say ByuN has a plan. Like, the thing is, ByuN knows Maru very well. They're very good friends, right? He knows a lot about his TVT, and I really believe ByuN is a very smart player as well, and probably has something of a plan made up here going into this series as to what he wants to do. And I'm sure this build is designed around knowing, hey, I think Maru, in certain ways that he plays, maybe has a weakness around this timing. So yeah, I think he'll probably find a way to do something. If nothing else, I think he'll keep Maru in base for quite a long time. And what's quite impressive is that ByuN's third CC is really not that much later than Maru's either, so he doesn't have to hold Maru back a long time to be in a good place here.
So ByuN now indeed transitioning towards what you were talking about with that heavy marine-based style, going into the double medevac production as well as the siege tank. So he's going to be able to get a ton of those marines out on the battlefield here in just a moment. And he, of course, loves sending them across the map inside of those medevacs. It's going to be up to Maru to defend against that, but you already brought it up. That is one of the specialties of Maru. The man just simply won't die in a game of StarCraft 2. Just incredibly strong with his defensive position, even if he doesn't know exactly what's happening. Now, Maru actually the guy who sent out a medevac first. It's currently headed towards the main base of ByuN, whereas ByuN is now sending 2 medevacs across.
Yeah, and Maru's set up defensively in the main. He clearly knows that ByuN likes to do stuff like this, so he is pretty well prepared. There's the drop on the picture-in-picture. ByuN is just going to dive in. I mean, if he gets on top of the siege tank, this really ain't so bad. The Ravens can obviously drop an auto turret or so. Well, okay, that was kind of bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, that definitely was not what he's looking for, especially while he's losing so many SCVs.
Oh, that's brutal for ByuN. I really thought dropping in there was going to be okay. I thought he'd get the siege tank quite easily, but yeah, just obviously the double auto turret, and then he decides not to drop everything as well, so he doesn't even get the tank. Probably the right call from ByuN. Probably still wouldn't have been so bad if he wasn't losing so many SCVs at home. That's the real killer here. Maru's defense was on point, and his counterattack even better.
Maru now himself transitioning towards 1-1 upgrades together with Stimpak, and even though all of that is going to be, well, especially the Stimpak is going to be quite a bit delayed compared to his opponent, he's going to finish it eventually, right? And that's the most important part. He doesn't take a whole lot of damage here in the early game at all, and now he's got himself with a nice 10-worker-ish lead. Third command center is done as well. Securing that on the low ground is going to be a little bit trickier. Yeah, ByuN, of course, with the map control is going to be able to take that pretty easily, but oh, he almost blocked it with 1 marine.
Well, he got it just not quite quick enough. As obviously Maru with the Ravens is so powerful here. That's a big part of this, as ByuN is, being kind of keeping an eye out on this low ground. If Maru doesn't realize he's down there, he could wander into those tank range, and that would be pretty bad. So, yeah, these first couple units go back away. Now he's going to start getting some damage, and he's on siege, so ByuN is going to jump on him. He's going to get rid of a bunch of these tanks. 2 of them go down, forces some auto turrets, and ByuN with a great catch, and Maru was really caught off guard in that moment. Great moment, of course, there for ByuN.
Who's going to sit out there, right? He knew that obviously those units would be coming down the ramp, and ByuN just, waiting for his opponent to try and take that third base. Snatching a couple of those tanks is definitely really nice, and that certainly evens up the game very well.
It really is just a sign of just how well ByuN knows Maru's kind of TVT, right? Like, he knows which base he's going to, so he knows by being on the left he's a bit hidden, but still in range of where Maru likes to have his army. He caught that medevac coming across earlier. You can see that ByuN knows the matchup he's playing. Let's see if he can really capitalize as we go diving in over here. He's going to get a couple tank siege. Marines will unload, and Maru will be the one losing SCVs. This is going to help ByuN to get back into that SCV game. He tries to get rid of one of the Ravens. Can he get rid of any of the Ravens? He does get rid of one, but going to lose pretty much everything otherwise.
At the same time, there's an attempted push at the front as well, but many siege tanks set up right there in the right place for Maru, and he doesn't take a whole lot of damage. A couple of the medevacs actually rallied here as well as they get sniped. Now, these siege tanks are also going to go down. Yeah, this is not ideal.
It's just the fact that Maru's 10 workers ahead as well, right? There was army advantage from ByuN, but it's just not turned into him getting the SCV kills that he wants to. I like that Maru has that early sensor tower. He clearly knows ByuN is playing this very active, up-in-my-face game, so he's just trying to keep track of ByuN as best he can. Another drop from ByuN around the top side. I don't hate it. That position was weak.
Yeah, but the sensor tower is not in range.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely one of the positions you can abuse, and if you get a lot in here, there's a lot of potential, but let's see. He needs to kill 10 workers to try and catch up a little bit. In we go. He's going to drop everything a bit further back this time. Is going to stay out of reach of that turret so it doesn't kill anything. And in we go. There's one tank that was already sieged, though. Maru's so quick to bring everything else up. Let's see how much is done. Here's the tanks get to work for ByuN. The SCVs and the Marines starting on top, though, and it looks as though ByuN gets cleaned up with, what, 6 workers killed? Just, again, really not enough so far.
No, throwing away a whole lot of units for a whole lot of nothing. I like how he decided to go in the exact same spot that he just got cleaned up. Like, technically speaking, that might not be the best move, but obviously these guys are playing, multiple mind games ahead of each other, constantly trying to outsmart one another as well. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to do the exact same position once again. See if it works out even better this time around. Supply-wise, though, the game is definitely still pretty even. And yeah, Maru is slowly outgrowing ByuN here, but it's certainly not the end of the world yet here for the player in blue.
The problem is, it's just Maru has the worker lead, Maru has the slight edges and advantages, and Maru's great at playing from behind if he needs to. Playing from ahead, he's going to feel absolutely unbeatable. ByuN's building a couple of Liberators, which is interesting. He doesn't have any Vikings, so I guess he's just going to try and use these to harass a little, but yeah, I just find that a little surprising because Maru should be able to control that fairly well. We'll see how well the Liberators do, but I'm not really convinced by those being built just yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where he's going to use those. I would imagine it's mostly for worker harassment. But Maru right now is setting up some very clever sensor towers as well up to the northern section, so really the only place he's vulnerable right now is maybe the main base, like a drop through the right side of the map. But that's really the bread and butter of Maru, right? Like, it sounds so easy, just don't take damage, but after many thousands of games, Maru has really figured it out, and there's a huge turret ring as well around the main, so...
Well, that's his only weakness, right? So
yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I'm sure if he didn't have that, he'd have a sensor tower because it's Maru. He knows this kind of style that ByuN's playing as well. He knows that ByuN wants to be very active on the map, and so he's just going to play perfectly against it so far. He really has absorbed a lot of ByuN's damage and really has just let ByuN almost kill himself in a way by being so active on the map. He's always ended up in worse positions. We're not going to see ByuN here sections off a few Marines of Maru and getting forward. We'll take a bit of a position, again looking to do something, but remember that ByuN does not have the tech of the Ravens, etc. to really control these positions like Maru does, and so Maru can just matrix these tanks and break out if he needs to. Yeah, this Liberator is going to cause a little bit of a distraction, but that's about all. Nice catch here.
Yeah, gets a couple of those units over here in the middle of the map. That was certainly not bad at all. But we do not see Maru making that transition towards those, those massive Raven styles that the Muslim was talking about as well on the desk earlier. This is very powerful right now in the late game of Terran versus Terran, and Maru is just slowly gobbling up the map, slowly expanding, not really testing the waters all too much. I mean, he just moved out with a small army, but that got cleaned up right away. Ultimately, though, I do think that Maru's army is going to be quite a bit stronger. Now, Maru is going to be in some trouble as ByuN stims up towards the third base, but so many tanks.
I mean, that's the thing. ByuN is just sort of going to try and kill Maru, and Maru just says, yeah, try and kill me then. You know, let's see how that works for you. This might be okay for ByuN because he's got the tanks on the low ground that will hold their position, so he is denying that 5th base location coming up, and ByuN has a supply lead coming out of this, but note that this supply is much worse supply because he doesn't have the Ravens and the tech that Maru does.
Yeah, the upgrades here are really quite good, though, for ByuN. Sadly, he did start +3 before, like +3 armor before the +3 attack. A couple good kills over here too. Those tanks are going to get cleaned up. Maru may be a little bit late on those upgrades, so there is a potential that ByuN is going to go for an attack as soon as those upgrades are finishing inside of his engineering base.
Big stim up here again. ByuN's really just trying to catch Maru without enough tanks sieged up so he can break into these positions, maybe utilize an upgrade lead if he has one at any of these points. The auto turrets go down pretty quick, but they are buying the time for the tanks to get some extra shots off. ByuN finally begins to break on through here. Is it enough? He's going to be able to get on top of the CC. Can Maru stop him from killing the command center? Apparently not. He's going to let it fall, and ByuN will deny the 5th base of Maru.
That is the biggest ByuN move I've seen in a while, right? Like, that is one of those things where, like, yep, there's like 4 tanks sieged up. Let's go, boys. Use the Stimpaks. We're going to go up the ramp. One of those fights you don't expect to go particularly well, but Maru makes the call to just give up the command center, give up the position, and once again, take it slow and methodical.
This is the frustrating part here for ByuN, right? Dealing with these Liberators. This tech from his opponent is just so tough to get rid of. And that's definitely Maru's advantage, and that's one thing that's just not going to slip away in this game at all. As ByuN will have the big eco lead though, like he's taken bases all over the map to ensure he's able to run in and take trades like this, because when you initiate into these defensive positions, you are going to be losing out badly initially. So that's just something you have to have a way to deal with, and that is by obviously just having a whole bunch more eco than your opponent. That's what ByuN is setting up for.
Okay.
That's actually really nice for ByuN.
Yeah.
Matrix.
ByuN in the meantime has also taken the left side of the map as well as the entire bottom right corner. So he's got a good amount of minerals to mine from. The thing is, it's not like Maru's SCVs are mining inefficiently, right? He's still got 82 of them, and he's got them spread out around enough mineral fields. But if ByuN can hold this position for another 5 minutes or so, his economy is going to be quite a bit better than Maru's.
Stims up here. Maru was not sieged straight away, so he gets a few moments to fight. Remember, he's 3-3 against 2-2 right now, and Marine upgrades are a pretty big deal. When it's Marine versus Marine, you know, a lot of the time you can get away with being behind in upgrades as long as your tanks are putting in work. ByuN drops on top of these tanks over here. Does get a couple at the very end. I was going to say, I'm not sure how much he's finally going to get there.
That was just friendly fire, right, from the other tanks?
Yeah.
Cleaning up the tanks right there for Maru. Well, they were trying to fire at the Marines, and they successfully hit those as well. ByuN now engaging again on the right side of the map, and this is slowly starting to become quite a bit better here for ByuN. I mean, He still doesn't have the tech, right? So if this game really goes the distance, I like Maru's position, but obviously ByuN is just trying to simply prevent that from ever happening in the first place.
ByuN's activity in this game has been through the roof. And I suggested at the start the idea of maybe like a big kind of bio-focused game. But this is just like mega aggression, never stopped, never bothered with any of the tech, and he's just trying to break Maru down. And I would not have thought breaking Maru down like that is possible, but it's kind of beginning to happen, right? Like, Maru is constantly trailing in supply. He's been, holding on because of his defense advantage. We are starting to see a lot of Raven casting being used now, and that might be one of the things that helps tip this in Maru's favor again, as ByuN is actually going to still be in an okay spot here because these tanks are going to come out of Matrix, and he's got Marines left to get rid of the Liberator. No!
Yeah, speaking of Marines, he's making 16 of them at once, right? That's why he's continuously able to just throw units at the opponent, just trying to come in at as many angles as possible. I wonder if these siege tanks, should be repositioned and maybe get into a slightly better spot as well that can put some more pressure here on Maru, although, well, the tanks right there in red, they're not going to allow that army. Now, once more, though, he stimps up the ramp. He's trying to go after the siege tanks, but I don't think there's enough.
Yeah, but he's actually going to have his own tanks kind of in good position to deal with the units that were getting baited forward. And
what?
Oh, ByuN's kind of thinking about dropping forward as well. He's going to get rid of another siege tank. I mean, his position of his own tanks has been brilliant so far, doing a very good job of this, and he is going to push another tank in range of this base, and he's just constantly making it difficult for Maru to ever mine off of a fifth as we dive forward for yet another tank. These Marines so expendable because you're building 16 at a time, as Maru in comparison building 9, 10. It is a big difference.
Yeah, we're now getting to the point in the game where the third and the fourth base are actually going to be running low right now for Maru. Like, ByuN has plenty of mineral fields to mine from. He's not going to... That one's going to go down, right?
I mean, he would have done if he stimmed and...
oh, what?
Yeah, he
10 hit points? No, he's got to repair.
He could have stimmed it and stepped better towards it. As this is actually going to be Maru breaking into this position. This is the problem for ByuN. These Ravens provide so much utility. However, he shot down a lot of Ravens. He actually is able to get forward and do pretty okay. If these tanks come out of Matrix, ByuN is going to hold this position and once again will stop Maru from breaking back through.
Okay, yeah, so this is what I was trying to bring up just now. Even though the worker counts are relatively even, ByuN's income is just significantly bigger, and it's growing at this point too. Sure, Maru has a bunch of Vikings in the air. Sure, he can get, well, Liberators going and Ravens and all that, but ByuN is just constantly sending unit after unit after unit across the map. Just Marines, tanks, and Medevacs. Can't get more classical than that, and he's making it work.
And he has so much of the map as well, remember? It's Maru genuinely gets into a problem here if you can't have a fifth base. Like, he is getting to the point where 4 bases are going to begin mining out, and he just needs that fifth. So, yeah, it's going to be a priority, but every time he tries to take the fifth, Maru denies the third as well, and that's obviously a part of the problem here, is these Ravens obviously looking to maybe get involved.
I love how he unsieges just a little bit and forces the Liberator to re-siege too.
Yeah, that's cute. I mean, it's exactly what you want to be doing. I'm kind of wondering when Maru decides to push into this, right? Because at some point he's going to force an unsiege with the Lib, and then he's going to commit forward.
He needs to. Like, he's got 2 more Ravens coming, so maybe he's waiting for those to come out, but Maru is still nearly maxed out in supply here. I think in a straight-up battle, he's actually still slightly favored with the, well, unit composition that he's got. ByuN definitely can't start cheering too early. Now, this is a nice little drop coming in towards the right side.
Yes, it is. Oh, he actually matrixes a medevac to stop the unload. That's a unique use of a matrix. You don't see that every day. As ByuN does get outnumbered here quite heavily, not being able to fully unload and actually having a bit of a mare, but at the same time, he's trying to push in on the left-hand side. He'll get rid of a bunch of tanks, but the supply absolutely plummets. Maru's continued defense is finally starting to pay off for him.
Well, you say that. His 5th command center is once again in trouble, and it this time does get picked off. With a little bit more of, a couple more production cycles, I think that ByuN can easily max out once more, but this is the time that you were talking about. This is the first moment where we properly see Maru making a move through the center of the map. He's got an awful lot of army right now. Still got a little bit of energy on those on the Ravens as well, and he's got some Liberators in the air. This could be really scary.
Yeah, I think the problem for ByuN is he doesn't get to play a defensive game at all here because he's going to have the Ravens to deal with, he's going to have the Liberators to deal with as well. And that's just going to be a little bit of a problem.
Okay. So is there enough for Maru to just simply straight up push through this?
Maybe.
Yeah, he's going to try. Those Liberators are so obnoxious, right? And ByuN has never really had the time or the resources to make that transition towards a lot of Vikings. He's trying to make some of them right now, but that's what's really enabling those Liberators.
Yeah, these Libs... I mean, it's just so rough. I mean, like you see, here we go, right? The Ravens come forward, they Matrix almost every tank, and Maru is going to have a more successful burst than ByuN's ever had in this game because ByuN's never had the utility of the Ravens. ByuN played a great game. He really did. But Maru, this is what I mean. Like, he's just so difficult to break. And even in a game where it looked like he was being broken down at every moment, he still just finds the moment to come across and counter. He finds that one big defense.
This is the quintessential example of what people talk about when they say that Maru's Terran versus Terran is best in the world. Like, ByuN had him on the ropes essentially the entire game long, and now Maru has come across the map after defending a million times. Well, there is a nice drop going on the other side of the map, by the way.
That is nice, but ByuN needs to deal with this army, otherwise it just doesn't matter at all. And it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to happen. The tech available to Maru, he just got to that Raven can. That was a bit too much. He had too many matrices available. And the usage of the matrices and just the Ravens in general in this game are great. He's always had all the turrets helping out right. He's had, you know, a couple of times matrices in clutch positions as well. The utility on those Ravens has been absolutely huge for Maru. And now with the siege that I just do not believe ByuN can break down at all. Maru can take a 5th base, and ByuN is going to start losing out on his production, which is just a position you don't win from.
ByuN is still roaming the map, trying to pick up a couple of those reinforcing units in red, hoping that maybe he's going to be able to get some of those units and once more grab a supply lead, but Maru's supply at this point is very significantly ahead. Keep in mind that all the production here from ByuN is inside of the main base that we're currently looking at, and how in the world is he going to leave that main base?
Yeah, I don't know. Never.
Yeah, he's going to need medevacs or at least something to get across. In the meantime, there's all the reinforcements. GG is cold. And Maru does win a game where it felt like he was up with his back against the wall for like 20 minutes, although didn't feel like it to him, it seems.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I knew eventually you'd die running into me. Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say, right? He just sits, he waits, and that's what he does so good in this matchup, right? It's so difficult to kill him because he's consistently able to survive even when you have a lead, even when you believe it's going good. ByuN had all the bases in the world. In the end, it doesn't matter because Maru gets that one army with that advantage, and he just cannot be broken at that point. So
I almost feel like, considering how good Maru is, that was essentially best case scenario for ByuN, right? Like for the style that ByuN was going for, I mean, best case scenario would be him just straight up winning. But as far as just playing a macro game goes, it doesn't really get a whole lot better than the situation that Maru finds himself in.
Can you imagine this start went better? Because obviously ByuN, this was horrible for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this drop just doing mega damage. This wasn't the picture-in-picture while we watched ByuN fail to drop, essentially, or well on the other side of the map. If that had gone better for ByuN, I mean, he would have probably broken through to win, right? So impressive from ByuN in the first place to be able to get into a position that looked so good for him despite that start. Yeah, this CC going down was nice, but this was where ByuN committed too much. This was the one fight that was just too expensive. And maybe this is the one where ByuN just says, you know what, finally, you know what, take it, have your 5th base. I'll try and deny another, because that was the one where he just lost too much. And that's the one where Maru did this.
Yep. Generally speaking, the way that ByuN seems to win these days is by attacking his opponent in 17 different angles, and essentially everybody except maybe 3 players in the world at some point roll over. But turns out Maru just a little bit too strong in that game number 1 of the series. Next up, we're going to Tropical Sacrifice. That is another very nice defendable map.
Very nice defendable map. I think ByuN will surprise you on how much he tries to push up the ramps.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he's gonna pull a ByuN or two.
Looks like we're here. All right, so spawning right here in the top right-hand corner of Tropical Sacrifice. Playing an excellent game number 1. He is Maru. I love that setup, by the way. It looks like they're like in racing cars.
In the bottom left-hand side from the Shopify Rebellion, our blue Terran player needs some love, needs some energy. This is ByuN.
Alrighty, so once more, barracks coming up inside of the main bases.
Yeah.
Is this surprising at all?
I don't think so. You know, it's a big game, right? Winners match here in Group Stage 3. You're looking at a spot in the round of 16. I don't think either of these guys want to put it down to... Because they both respect each other, right? ByuN probably knows he's some of the best Reaper Micro in the world. One of the only guys that can compete with that is probably Maru. And I think Maru respects that in ByuN's side as well, where he doesn't want to make this a Reaper harass, Reaper Micro game, because he knows it's very plausible ByuN just wins that, right? It's almost a coin flip because they're both just so good at it. So staying away from that as much as possible, playing a bit more of a standard macro game, 100% I think expected.
All right, so we'll see if there's going to be any deviation in build order here in just a moment. In the previous game, we saw ByuN going for a much faster second barracks, which of course allowed him to go for that heavy drop style, which honestly didn't work at all in the early game. It went much better in the mid game when he decided to go for those, well, always questionable attacks up towards the high ground into siege tank lines. You brought it up at the beginning of the previous game as well. Like, somehow ByuN seems to consistently make that work. The only player that really seems to pull that off.
He's the only player that tries in TVT to do that as well.
It seems crazy, though. You see, like, 4 siege tanks sieged up, and you're like, you know what? 25 Marines? Go.
Like, some people do this because they get desperate, right? But very few people do it because of their game plan. And that's the difference. Like, ByuN just set up to have more barracks and to be pumping out more Marines the entire time. He completely gave up on any hope of building a Raven or anything in this game because he just wanted to keep on spamming units and trying to break down Maru. And like I say, like, so few people would commit to that as a game plan because it feels almost impossible. You're always going to be taking a bad fight. To have the faith basically in your pure macro and ability to kind of make the bad fights as good as possible, it's pretty crazy. Fast reactor here, obviously, a couple of reactors, a couple of Reapers coming up. And that's going to be on both sides of the map, so mirroring each other so far. I really believe this time ByuN's going to drop the starport and not go into a second barracks or anything.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's probably going to do a similar thing. This is a map with loads of ramps, one of the few maps in StarCraft 2 that has 4 layers to it. And obviously the high grounds are pretty nice for, well, defending, right? You can usually get the first hit in against your opponent, and obviously those siege tanks can shoot at their maximum range a little bit easier as well. There you have it. ByuN indeed going for the standard time on the starport as well.
Yep, starport meets starport, and there's going to be 2 more Reapers out of ByuN, while Maru starts to build Marines. So ByuN obviously looking to be a little bit more aggressive. And with a high Reaper count, you can always have a little bit of counterattack potential if they do not die, so that's something else to think about. And
all right, here's the first-person view.
Yeah, let's see what it's going to look like as ByuN is going to come up this ramp, and in he goes, looks for the first shot, and he's going to start fighting here. The couple of Hellions getting bobbed down. Good grenade. He doesn't quite get the kill, though. Keeps his Reapers alive, which gives him the mobility of jumping into other places. Oh, they jumped up into the natural, though, instead of straight into the main. That means that ByuN takes a much worse fight than I think he was wanting.
Yeah, he probably wanted to aim straight for this little jump-up pad right over there. Now he's got reinforcing Reapers ready to come across the map. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with them, right? Very soon we're gonna have higher tier units available as well for Maru. He's gonna get a Cyclone out, and good luck pushing into that.
Yeah, the 4 Marines are just very good. As long as they're, the problem with the Marines is they're less mobile. But as long as they're in the right position, they're pretty okay in these fights, especially if the Reapers can't get grenades on them to bop them out the way and stuff. So Maru going to be fine defensively there, and this little extra investment from ByuN unfortunately doesn't really do enough for him. That's going to be slight advantage to Maru because look at the gas bank, right? Maru just has a lot more gas still to spend. Once he starts spending that, that's just going to be much more useful units, and that's just the difference right now.
Free Reaper right there for ByuN. Maru feeling a little bit guilty and decided, you know what? I want to scout, but here, have a unit of mine because I did such a good job earlier. He now decides to go into the 3rd command center because apparently that scouting Reaper got him all the info he needed. He's like, yeah, 4 Marines. That's it.
I'm safe, yo. Kills the Hellion. Cyclone wants to get away. The Reapers have the speed to keep in range of the Cyclone, as the Cyclone of ByuN would have been a great tanking unit there to obviously get in the front and absorb some damage, but it's just not enough. And resources lost. I mean, 7 units down from ByuN, 3 from Maru, 400 difference in resources. Just again shows the kind of game it's been. Maru has that slight worker lead as well, so just the little things poking forward for Maru in his favor at the moment as get forward here. The Cyclone lock-ons both kind of went the wrong way. A grenade to pop around, and well, there's the Cyclone's going to dance to the death.
Yeah, Maru apparently is the winner in that party. I like how they both jumped from the Reaper grenade. Like, I don't know which of the 2 players threw that grenade, but they apparently both decided to bounce up in the air.
There is a 3rd CC obviously on the way from both. Maru got his slightly sooner, but ByuN put his in position, which is going to kind of even out the 3rd CC timing. So that was kind of ByuN feeling a bit more confident being out on the map. Obviously, like I say, he was still a bit slower in taking it as well, so he was just being a bit safer. So yeah, it doesn't have to float his down. It's going to, like I say, even out more or less. And we are getting to the point where we're starting to see a bit more of that air commitment as well. We're seeing Vikings on the way from Maru, and we're kind of waiting to see what ByuN's going to do with his starport. Is he also going to play Vikings, or is he just going to go into medevacs and just use his couple of Ravens to Matrix and whatever else, and once again just try and just swarm with ByuN units with medevac support?
I feel like, though, this type of game is the type of game that Maru wants to play, right? Like, game number 1 was ByuN playing what he likes to do, and now game number 2, well, he clearly could not make that work in game number 1, even though he found himself in a pretty good spot a couple of times. Now he's forced to play Maru's game. Do you think that's in Maru's advantage at all? Do you think Maru feels more comfortable in this type of game or the previous one?
I think Maru likes this more because, I don't know.
He's probably fine against everything.
Yeah, I don't think he really cares. I feel like for him, it's still the same kind of game, right? It's like, I'm just going to sit back and defend and play TVT, and if he wants to attack enemy, cool. If he doesn't, cool. Right? Like, from Maru's perspective, I feel like he says, yeah, I mean, I can just deal with anything. And maybe last game was still nice for him because he just gets to play defensive, but it was definitely still scary at points, right? I mean, it's way better now when you're not under pressure this entire time. I think Maru feels very confident later in the game as well, so yeah, probably prefers this game.
Yeah, I would imagine so too. I mean, it seems more comfortable to play overall. Just a little bit less stressful at least, but then again, this is going to be a very even game. And I don't think we're going to see any crazy differences here anytime soon either, right? Like, this map is just so easy to put your siege tanks in those good high ground positions. Oh, hey, that Cyclone from earlier coming in handy.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking is still just Maru has a slight Viking lead, but I'm not even sure Maru would try and utilize that just yet, so yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing much for a little while.
No, he's not going to make Liberators yet.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, he's just going to sit back, get his own Medivacs now. It's kind of interesting because ByuN kind of completely cut Viking production out of his build, but he doesn't have any advantage to show for it, right? Like, he doesn't have more Medivacs. Like,
yeah,
if he had like 4 Medivacs now versus 2, then sure, but like, he doesn't even have that, so not sure what the whole plan was there.
Okay, he's ready to go across the map once again, because ByuN pretty much always is. Worst case scenario is going to load all the units inside of Medivacs and be okay. Always a bit dangerous though against Maru. But he is coming across the map. Now, Maru does have a nice Medivac drop as well on the left side of the map that is completely unscouted, probably ready to intercept a potential 4th base, but that one's not on location yet.
Yeah, we're just going to see Maru just going to come for a stim 4. Nothing is sieged, right? So he's going to get straight up into the natural. The Medivac will stay for the siege tank, which is nice, but still, what's stopping these Marines as the SCVs begin to drop? Maru doesn't get greedy, lifts pretty quickly, 7 workers, happy with that, just gets out, knows he got an advantage from it.
Yeah, and this is the big part too, right? He forced that entire army from ByuN to move around.
Just great moving, right? Just comes from the angle, the Sense Tower doesn't cover it all, finds ByuN just a little bit unprepared. And just love the fact it wasn't overcommitted. He was so happy to leave after just a few SCVs. So many people would have just stood around there so long that then they just lose the Medivac, right? But Maru says, nope, I'd rather have. I just get so much more out of keeping that Medivac on the map. As Maru walks in the siege tank, so he wasn't aware of where ByuN was there. And ByuN's trying to make a bit of a play forward. ByuN is going to stim on forward. He wants to break up this ramp. Auto turret's going down. He did drop a Matrix right away. The auto turrets buy you some time. An anti-armor missile on the Marines as well from ByuN. Means it's going to be tough to commit in. And Maru dealt with that really well considering the situation. And now Maru's drop is back. This is the value of saving it before. It can intercept reinforcements. He's doing great with it. And he's just going to go for some more SCVs.
Yeah, it looks like ByuN is eventually going to be able to clean this up, but at the cost of a ton of his workers. Just like the Medivac drop that we saw in game number 1, right? A relatively small commitment right there from Maru, but dealing a lot of damage. And once again, buying him a ton of time. ByuN is going to get cleaned up over here at the front as well. And now our player in red has got 4 command centers up and running. He's going to add on this additional starports as well, so he's going to be able to build on that air superiority that he's already got established. And now ByuN is going to have to push into these positions that are nearly impossible to push into. Like, how are you going to get that done? Well, Interference Matrix is a start.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We knocked down 1 Raven. A little Matrix on the side of Maru as well, just to kind of win out a little bit of a siege tank fight. The problem is for ByuN, like, his Ravens are going to be dying because he doesn't have the Vikings of his own, right? Maru has the Vikings to shoot those Ravens down. And Maru is at the point now extra starports are added so you can just keep building Ravens. So Maru should pretty much always have that advantage from here on out. As Maru's gone hunting for that drop, just doesn't find those Medivacs. They were unloading, of course, maybe not the biggest of deals. And ByuN is just once again hunting for that opportunity as uh-oh, they're going to run into each other right now. And then we go for this battle. TVT at its finest, Marine versus Marine. But guess what? Maru had more.
You play Marine chicken, right? It's like, you back off. No, you back off. And it turns out, well, in the end, one guy just had like 5 more Marines. So somehow that battle wins with like 15 more alive.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny as well because I was looking, I was like, oh my god, you know, ByuN doesn't have +2 armor. And I was like, wait, neither does Maru.
Yeah,
so
no,
they were both
finishing.
kind of desynced on their armor upgrades, which if it hadn't been the case, then actually one of them might have overwhelmed in that fight.
Okay, so ByuN once again though with the supply lead here, but it's very similar to game number 1. Maru just has the higher tier production coming up right now. He goes through that choke point, really?
Well, you know, that's a ByuN move for sure.
Yeah.
You know, take the names off the board and I tell you that this is ByuN, but...
you could cover the names up and you could guess who is playing here.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. The thing is, ByuN is better at these sort of plays than you would expect them to be because like they sometimes work more often, and we're actually going to pull SCVs in to try and break this top left side. Working pretty well. We lose 7, but we get rid of the tanks and we push it back. That is, of course, important for Maru. Maru might be lacking a little bit on supply, but it's only a tiny bit, and he is building the better army with Liberators, Ravens all coming through, extra starports producing. Over time, Maru's army is way better.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point because the Ravens are coming up. The Corvid reactor upgrade is going to be available for them as well here in just a moment. Liberator production on the side of Maru too. All of that will make this defense much easier, and obviously the eventual offense too. Maru actually trying to sneak out a 5th command center through the right side of the map. A little bit cheeky right there. I don't think that's going to work, but ByuN at this point doesn't know of it yet.
You never knows, right? Then what's going to stop him is these Vikings are very close to hitting full medevacs, and if those full medevacs die, that would be bad. I like this from ByuN, going to create a retreat path for him, but hey, that Liberator is sieging on top of tanks that are super low HP. He's going to kill one, he's going to get the other very low. And yeah, just got to be careful right now. And this is where you just get stuck as ByuN. Like, how do you really deal with this? Love that anti-armor missile as well. We get another siege tank. Yeah, how does ByuN even deal with
he needs his own Raven army. Like, the only way he's going to be able to properly fight this in a head-on battle, like this is heading in the same direction as game number 1, right?
Yeah.
He needs a similar unit composition as Maru, but he's not at that tech right now, and it's going to be difficult for him to get there as well because Maru is going to max out momentarily.
The unit count was fantastic. Maru's on like 28 Marines and ByuN's on 72. Like, you wonder why he does so well pushing in. It's like he's like tripling the Marine count, but yeah, that only goes so far, right? There is a point where that is not so great, as we are going to be seeing those missile turrets get one of the medevacs here. We ordered her to buy some time. He actually tried to target fire down the medevac, but it just lived. And this is something that Maru does have to deal with. The drop in the back loses both the armor. He's going to send his Vikings across. This does mean that pretty much nothing is getting out of here. ByuN needs a strike at the same time, and he is going to go in at the front to try and break Maru down. Did Maru leave enough at the front? So far, seems like no. And we are going to see Maru evacuating SCVs with medevacs potentially. ByuN's Marines are such low HP, though. I mean, they're all super low.
Yeah, Stibbin Marines upper ramped into siege tank lines, dropping in the opponent's main base past like 4 missile turrets. This is ByuN to a T. Supply counts once again even, and you know what? He actually finds himself in a better position than he did a minute ago, but is this a game-winning spot?
No, the problem is the Ravens, right? Like, especially with the Marines such low HP, the Ravens then basically win you the game here as Maru. Well, maybe not win you the game, but they keep you in very good position no matter what, right?
It's really hard to lose here, yeah.
Yeah, because the Ravens are just going to disable all the tanks, and if the Marines are low HP, they're going to get overwhelmed no matter what. So yeah, ByuN's in a difficult spot for sure, as now Maru's going to try and drop on top of these tanks as they move forward a little bit, and he's going to do pretty well for himself. This is a moment where you see those Marines being low for ByuN really hurting because they just disappear in a second.
3-3 is going to finish up as well here in just a moment for Maru. That's going to make his army incredibly powerful. Well, what small group of Marines he has anyways. Now finally ByuN finds out about that planetary fortress I tried bringing up earlier. That command center was snuck out. Now, it is going to go down, that's for sure, but this base has been mining for a while already, making this a little bit more manageable right now for ByuN, who once more has got a good amount of mining on the other side of the map.
Yep, just going to knock down these tanks on the top side, by the way. Just going to have that Lib sieging up, knocking that siege tank down as well. Now the medevac's boosting down the bottom side from ByuN also. Just getting back to the rest of his army. They're both still nigh on maxed out, and you know, ByuN does have himself a bit of a base lead. Once again, just very similar to the last game. Tech and everything from Maru, economy and just masses of units from ByuN.
I think it's time. I think he's ready.
Yeah, Maru's
ready to roll out, listening to his siege tanks after 16 minutes of building up.
Yeah, there's going to be an interesting fight as Maru again has the matrixes and everything he can utilize here. Drops an anti-armor missile, gets a ton of matrixes off. You can see ByuN's army just melting. And that, my friends, is the tech disadvantage as Maru just demolishes this first wave of ByuN.
Yeah, Liberators and Ravens, they're pretty good units. I mean, ByuN is going to be able to slow this down for a little while longer, but Deja vu from game number 1 for sure. The entire game long, it's ByuN who decides the pacing of this match, and then eventually Maru just refuses to lose, right? And eventually that Maru army is just a little bit too strong. There's once again that medevac interception squad, right? We saw this in the previous game too, and it's picking up a lot of reinforcements.
Cute, but just not doing enough just yet, right? Yeah, it slows down Maru's reinforcements. Maru right now doesn't feel like he needs reinforcements to win this, right? As the extra medevac's going out the top, this is what ByuN needs to do, some kind of a base trade. Maru can only move slowly, so if you can make quick, decisive plays with like big medevac drops, that is 100% where you can start to take maybe a win in this game, because then you can maybe, you know, outmatch Maru. Maybe you can out-base trade him. Yeah, that's your potential as Maru's sieging up in the center there. He's going to knock down some Marines. It's the Marines from the top left heading into Maru's third. That's going to be the problem. Let's see how well Maru deals with this.
Yeah, I don't think he's got a whole lot because his army's right now on the other side of the map. Yeah, that anti-armor missile versus 1 siege tank is going to be nice.
Wow, yeah.
He's getting good value here, but is it enough? Okay.
It's not right. I mean, this needed to do so much for ByuN, and oh my goodness, that's not good. We just look back to watch ByuN losing a ton of units. Man, that anti-armor missile was clutch, and ByuN kind of clumped up into it, and it just made the few units of Maru do so much.
Yeah, Maru is ridiculously good when it comes to playing Terran versus, well, basically all of the matchups, okay? But Terran versus Terran has always been one of his very best. He just looks so comfortable in a lot of these weird scenarios. It's very difficult to judge how these kind of games go, but to be consistently in the right place at the right time is important, and Maru, well, no one better than him.
Absolutely not, and obviously a 40 supply lead now. It's going to be tough for ByuN to break out of that. His reinforcements are constantly running down a ramp into tank fire, so that's not exactly ideal. In fact, I'd say that's almost a gift. It's still happening, and we matrix some tanks further forward so we can push further in ourselves. So yeah, Maru continues to improve his position, and here comes ByuN. The attempted burst into all of these siege tanks is obviously looking unlikely. He even tries to back out of it, but you can't really back out of TVT fights.
Maru slowly creating a chokehold right now on ByuN's base. This is, of course, where all of the production from ByuN is located, so as soon as he gets control of that high ground, this game is going to look a whole lot better for the player in red. There's not a whole lot of mining anymore available either for ByuN, who decides to tap out, and it's Maru who wins 2-0 over ByuN.
This is exactly why we talk about Maru's TVT just being so freaking good. Because he is able to consistently
587?
Defend, play fast, not make a mistake, not leave an opening too wide. And even when it looked like ByuN caught Maru off guard, like the full medevac's dropping in the main, but what did he really achieve, right? Like, yeah, he did okay, but enough? Absolutely not. Crowd loves it. Maru showing us why he's got those pins on his shirt, and ByuN is
really?
ByuN's running away.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, they are good friends. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
ByuN's just a joker. He's just a funny guy, you know.